This is a work of fiction set during the 1970s through 1990s. While characters and events are created for storytelling, they reflect documented farming experiences and historical economic conditions of that era. The bank letter sat on Tom Weber's kitchen table for 3 days before he opened it. March 1982. He already knew what it said. Every farmer in 3 counties knew what those envelopes meant. The interest rate on his operating loan had jumped to 18%. His hands shook as he read the number twice. 18% on $200,000. Tom ran 280 acres of corn and soybeans in central Illinois. His father had worked this land, his grandfather too. The soil was black and rich. It grew corn stalks taller than a man. For 100 years, the Weber farm had been enough. Tom had believed it always would be. He walked outside to his John Deere 4440. The tractor cost him $42,000 new in 1979. Now it sat quiet in the morning cold. Tom climbed into the cab and just sat there. The vinyl seat cracked under his weight. He could smell diesel and old coffee. His breath fogged the windows. The phone rang that night. It was his neighbor, Carl Hutchins. Carl farmed 2,000 acres on the other side of the county. Tom had known Carl since grade school. They used to fish together at Beaver Creek. "You get your letter?" Carl asked. "Yeah," Tom said. "Same here. 18%. It's gonna hurt." Tom didn't sleep that night. He did math on paper until 2 in the morning. The numbers didn't work. Even if corn hit $4 a bushel, he'd barely break even, and corn was sitting at $2.50. He needed 140 bushels per acre just to cover costs. Last year, he'd gotten 130. 2 weeks later, Tom drove to First National Bank in town. The loan officer was a young guy named Stevens. He wore a tie that cost more than Tom's boots. "Mr. Weber, we're not calling the loan yet," Stevens said, "but we need to see improvement." "Improvement how?" Tom asked. "Better yields, lower costs, something." Tom walked out feeling hollow. He stopped at the diner. Carl was there drinking coffee. They sat in a booth by the window. "What did they tell you?" Carl asked. "Get better or get out?" Carl nodded slowly. "I'm buying more land." Tom looked at him. "What?" "Jenkins' place went up for sale. 800 acres. Bank owns it now. They'll sell it cheap." "How cheap?" "400 an acre. I can swing it." Tom couldn't believe it. "You're adding debt right now?" Carl leaned forward. "Listen, small farms are dying, everyone knows it, but big farms can spread costs across more acres. My loan payment per acre drops if I farm more ground. It's just math." Tom drove home thinking about what Carl said. It sounded crazy, but maybe crazy was smart now. He'd always believed small was safe. You could manage 280 by yourself. You knew every field, every low spot, every tile line. But safe wasn't working anymore. Spring came cold that year. Tom planted his corn in wet soil. He shouldn't have. But he was behind schedule and worried. The seeds rotted in the ground. He had to replant 60 acres. That cost him another $3,000 he didn't have. His wife Ellen stopped buying new clothes. They ate less meat. Their daughter needed braces, but that would have to wait. By July, the corn looked decent. Not great, just decent. Tom walked his fields every evening. He'd pull an ear and check the kernels, count the rows. Some ears had 14 rows, some had 16. He needed 18. The heat came in August and stayed. No rain for 3 weeks. The corn tasseled early and stopped growing. Tom watched his crop struggle and felt helpless. Harvest came in October. Tom's yields were 120 bushels per acre, below average. Corn was selling for $2.40. He did the math in his head while combining. Gross income of $336 per acre. His costs were $350 per acre. He'd lost money again. He called the bank. Stevens told him they needed to talk. Tom drove to town the next morning. He wore his cleanest shirt. It still had a small stain near the pocket. "Mr. Webber, you're 60,000 behind now," Stevens said. "We can't carry this much longer. Give me one more year." "That's what you said last year." Tom felt his face get hot. "What do you want me to do? Quit farming?" Stevens pulled out papers. "We need you to consider selling some ground. Just 80 acres. That would clear half your debt." Tom stood up. "No." He left without another word. The drive home took forever. Every field he passed looked like a graveyard. For sale signs everywhere. Johnson's place, the Meeker farm, Patterson's old home place. All sold or selling. Small farms blinking out like stars at dawn. 3 years passed. Tom held on. Barely. He stopped buying new parts. He fixed everything with baling wire and hope. His John Deere 4440 burned oil, but it still ran. He planted generic seed instead of Pioneer. He cut his fertilizer in half. His yields dropped to 110 bushels per acre. But expenses dropped too. He survived by shrinking, by doing less, by hoping less. Ellen got a job at the grocery store in town. She worked checkout 3 days a week, 20 hours for $6 an hour. That $1.20 a week kept the lights on. Tom hated it. He'd always supported his family. Now his wife stocked shelves while he watched corn grow. Carl stopped by one afternoon in 1985. He pulled up in a new pickup, a Ford F-250, red with chrome wheels. "Nice truck," Tom said. "Bank makes you look successful when you owe them enough," Carl said. He wasn't smiling. They stood by Tom's machine shed. The paint was peeling. The roof leaked. Carl looked at it, but didn't say anything. "I'm at 4,000 acres now," Carl said. "Bought the Morrison place last spring." "How's that working?" Tom asked. "Complicated. I got 6 guys working for me now. Payroll every week. Equipment breaking. Always something. But I'm making it. Margins are thin, but they're there." Tom felt something twist in his chest. Jealousy, maybe, or regret. "Good for you." "Tom, I came to make you an offer. Lease me your ground. Keep your home place. The house and 40 acres. Lease me the rest. I'll pay you cash rent. $80 an acre." Tom did the math instantly. 40 acres at 80 each. $19,200. Guaranteed. No risk, no fuel costs, no seed costs, no prayers for rain. "I'll think about it," Tom said. Carl nodded. "Offer stands till spring." That night, Tom and Ellen talked for hours. She wanted him to take the deal. "We'd be safe," she said. "No more debt, no more worrying about weather." "I'd just be a landlord," Tom said, "not a farmer." "You'd be alive, that counts." Tom didn't answer. He went outside and walked to his shop. His combine sat there, an International 915. He'd bought it used in 1977 for $22,000. It needed a new header and the engine knocked, but it had cut his crops for 8 years. He put his hand on the metal, cold and solid, real. He turned down Carl's offer. He couldn't explain why exactly. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was love for something that didn't love him back. He told Carl in March before planting. Carl just nodded like he expected it. "Your choice," Carl said. "But Tom, this thing's not over. It's going to get worse before it gets better." Carl was right. By 1987, corn was under $2 a bushel. Tom's operating loan was $220,000 now. Interest had eaten him alive. The bank called every month. Stevens had been replaced by someone harder, a woman named Patterson. She didn't make small talk. "Mr. Webber, we're initiating foreclosure proceedings," she said over the phone. Tom felt his stomach drop. "Wait. Just wait." "We've waited 5 years. You're in default. I'm sorry." The farm auction was set for September. Tom had 4 months. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't eat. Ellen cried at night when she thought he couldn't hear. Their daughter was 14 now. She knew something was wrong, but nobody talked about it. Tom went to see Carl. It was a long drive. Carl's office was in a metal building near his home place. Inside were file cabinets and a computer. A secretary worked at a desk. Tom felt like he was visiting a corporation, not a farm. Carl came out of his office. "Tom, come in." They sat down. Carl's desk was covered in papers, spreadsheets, field maps, contract forms. "I'm losing the farm," Tom said. "Auctions in September." Carl leaned back in his chair. "I heard. I'm sorry. You still want to buy it?" "Tom, I can't afford to buy right now. I'm leveraged heavy, 4.2 million in debt. I'm making payments, but I got no cash reserve." Tom felt his last hope die. "Okay, but I'll lease it from whoever buys it. I'll try to keep it farmed right. For your dad." Tom nodded. He couldn't speak. He stood up and left. The drive home blurred. He pulled over twice because he couldn't see through tears. 53 years old, no farm, no job, no skills except dirt and diesel. The auction happened on a cold morning. Wind blew across the empty fields. Tom and Ellen stood near the house while strangers bid on their life. The land went for $500 an acre. 140,000 total. Not enough to clear Tom's debt. The equipment went piece by piece. His 4440 sold for 11,000. Some farmer from 2 counties over bought it. Tom watched it drive away and felt something break inside him. The bank forgave the remaining debt. 60,000 just disappeared on paper. Tom should have felt relief. He felt nothing. They moved into a rental house in town, 800 square feet, thin walls. They could hear neighbors fighting at night. Ellen kept her job at the grocery store. Tom found work at a feed mill. He loaded trucks 10 hours a day. His back hurt. His hands stayed dirty. He made $8 an hour. They survived, but they didn't live. Not really. Meanwhile, Carl kept growing. By 1989, he farmed 7,000 acres. He hired 12 people. He bought a fleet of equipment, 4 combines, 6 tractors, 2 grain trucks. He looked like success. But Tom heard rumors. Carl's debt was over 7 million now. One bad year, and the whole thing would collapse. Tom saw Carl at the feed mill one day. Carl came in to buy chemicals. They talked for a few minutes. "How's it going?" Tom asked. "Busy. Always busy. I forgot what sleep feels like." Carl looked tired. His face was lined. He'd gained weight. His hands shook slightly when he signed the invoice. "You okay?" Tom asked. "Yeah, just stress. Doctor says I need to slow down. But I can't. If I stop, the whole thing falls apart." Tom nodded. He understood that feeling. They shook hands, and Carl left. Tom watched him go. For the first time, he wondered if Carl had actually won anything. The 1990s came with better corn prices. Tom heard prices hit $2.50, then $3. He wasn't farming, but he still watched the markets. Old habits. He'd drive past his old farm sometimes. Carl's crews worked the ground. Big equipment, everything efficient. The fields looked good. Yields were up. Tom felt proud and sad at the same time. Carl had a heart attack in 1993. He was 48 years old. Survived, but it slowed him down. He hired a manager to run things, stepped back some. Tom heard he was selling equipment, reducing debt, getting smaller. Tom and Ellen adjusted to town life. It wasn't what they'd planned, but it was steady. No risk, no gambling on weather and markets. Ellen made manager at the grocery store. Tom got promoted to shift supervisor at the mill. They paid off their debts, saved a little money. Their daughter graduated college, first Weber to ever do that. By 1995, Tom was 61 years old. He took early retirement from the mill. His back was shot from years of heavy lifting. Ellen retired too. They moved to a small house near the edge of town. It had a garden out back. Tom grew tomatoes and green beans, not for money, just for something to do. His hands still needed dirt. Carl stopped by one afternoon. Tom was pulling weeds when he heard the truck. Carl got out slowly. He'd aged hard, looked 70 instead of 50. "Hey Tom," Carl said. "Carl, good to see you." They sat on the back porch. Ellen brought out iced tea. They talked about nothing for a while. Weather, town gossip, the new Walmart going in. Finally, Carl said, "I'm selling out. All of it." Tom looked at him. "What?" 7,000 acres. All the equipment. The whole operation. "I'm done." "Why?" Carl sighed. "I'm tired, Tom. Been tired for 10 years. The heart attack scared me. My kids don't want the farm. They moved to Chicago, got real jobs. And honestly, I don't blame them. This life ate me up." "You made it, though," Tom said. "You survived." "Did I?" Carl looked at his hands. "I got more money than you. That's true. But I missed everything else. My kids grew up while I was in a tractor. My wife left me in 1991. I got an ulcer and high blood pressure. I haven't slept good in 15 years. What did I survive for?" They sat quiet for a while. Tom didn't know what to say. Carl finished his tea and stood up. "Your old place," Carl said. "The Home 40. Guy who bought it wants to sell. Thought you might want first crack." "How much?" 20,000. Tom thought about it. They had some savings. Maybe enough. "Let me talk to Ellen." Carl nodded. "No pressure. Just thought you should know." 2 months later, Tom and Ellen bought back the home place. 40 acres and the old house. It needed work, but the bones were good. They moved in that fall. Tom was 62. Ellen was 59. They weren't farming, but they were home. Tom fixed up the house slowly. New roof, new windows, fresh paint. The machine shed still stood. He kept tools there, old memories. He'd walk out there sometimes and just look around. Remember. Carl's auction happened in spring of 1996. Everything sold. Tom went to watch. The big equipment brought good money. Carl's John Deere 8960 sold for 90,000. His combine went for 140. Carl stood off to the side looking lost. When it was over, he found Tom. "That's it," Carl said. 30 years. Gone in 4 hours. "What'll you do?" Tom asked. "Rest, maybe. Travel. Figure out who I am besides a farmer." They shook hands. Carl drove away in his truck. Tom never saw him again. Heard he moved to Arizona, bought a small house, played golf. Died in 2003. Heart attack on the course. He was 58. Tom lived quieter. He and Ellen planted a garden every spring. Grew more than they needed. Gave vegetables to neighbors. Tom fixed things around the house. Built a new porch. Put in a pond out back. Stocked it with bluegill. He'd fish there in the evenings. Sometimes other farmers would stop by, young guys starting out. They'd heard Tom's story, lost his farm in the 80s. They wanted to know how he survived it. "You just do," Tom would tell them. "You get up, you work, you make it through." They'd ask if he regretted staying small, if he wished he'd grown like Carl. Tom would think before answering. "Carl had more acres," he'd say. "More equipment, more money. But I got more sleep. I know my daughter. My wife still likes me. Different ways to measure things." By 2000, Tom was 66. Ellen was 63. They'd been married 42 years. Their daughter visited with grandkids, the old house filled with noise and life. Tom would take the kids fishing at his pond, show them how to bait a hook. They'd catch bluegill and throw them back. One evening, Tom walked out to his machine shed. The sun was setting orange across the fields. His fields once, someone else's now. But still beautiful, still growing corn, still feeding people. The land didn't care who owned it, it just kept being land. Tom stood there as darkness came. He could smell dirt and growing things, hear wind in the trees, feel earth under his feet. He'd lost the farm, but not the connection, not the love. That stayed. He thought about Carl, about all the guys who'd grown big and burned out, about all the guys like him who'd stayed small and lost anyway. There was no right answer, no winning strategy, just choices and consequences, just trying and surviving, just showing up every day and doing the work. Tom walked back to the house. Ellen had the lights on, warm yellow against the blue dusk. He could see her moving in the kitchen, making dinner. Same woman, same life. Different than he'd planned, but still good, still his. He went inside and closed the door behind him. The farm crisis had taken his land, but it hadn't taken everything. He'd learned that, finally, after all those years. Some things you keep no matter what the bank says. Some things survive.